Tonight is your night. Whatever you want to chat about, I'm here all night. So don't be shy. Comment below and let's get chatting. We can chat about anything. Independent assessments, inclusion, what you had for dinner, anything about let's keep it non-controversial. Come on, don't be shy. How was your week? I would do something I've never done before. If you click that link, you can actually join me. I'd love to chat. Or if you're camera shy, telling me what you've been up to this week. I'd love to know. Come on, everyone. Really, I don't bite. There we go. So what's been happening this week? There's been a lot of talk about independent assessments. You know my views. What about yours? I can't produce this podcast on my own. Type in the comments below what you want me to discuss. We have 8 people on the line. Surely one of you must know what you want to chat about. Please don't be shy. I'll copy it into the Facebook. I'm dropping a link. If you look in the Facebook group and share it. Sorry, I'm managing with. Hello.
Hi. My name's Amanda.
Sorry. Oh. I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Hi.
How are you?
Really well. I think there's a lag.
Where are you from?
I live in Perth and I'm from Sydney originally.
Oh, I'm from Sydney too. Patrick with live from Sydney. Why do you
Sydney originally.
tell people listening a bit about yourself? Patrick with
I'm 43 and I work at People with Disability Australia. I work pretty closely with the President and the CEO, and I've been working on independent assessment submissions. So, yeah, I think that if they go ahead, they're just going to change things in a really bad direction. And yeah, I hope that some of the lobbying people are doing will get somewhere. And I've been working on
what were you thinking to change
change things in a really bad direction. And yeah, I hope that some of the lobbying people are doing will get somewhere. I've been working on
Tell me about yourself outside of work. What do you enjoy doing?
Well, I have a daughter who's 6, so we spend a lot of time together. I like dancing and hanging out with my sister Katie, and yeah, I like reading books a lot. I used to work at the West Australian as a books editor, so yeah, I like chatting to authors and just talking to people about creating things. Hanging out with my sister Katie.
What
I like writing, and sometimes I like drawing, but it's not something I do very often.
your job must be stressful now with, wouldn't it be?
That's how I fixed it. I'm sorry about the noise. So, what do you think about independent assessments?
I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There is probably my fault. Just the try to be
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay. Great.
So usually I use a different software. So let's get back to it. How has your work been compared to before the reforms were introduced?
My job has changed a lot because I was focused more on websites and sharing information about the Disability Royal Commission and putting together submissions for that and things to do with the National Disability Strategy. And it's gone from, thinking about how we can, try and get those rights from the UN CRPD introduced across the country to kind of focusing on trying to argue against something that, seems to have its own momentum. It was like it came out of nowhere, but the more that you look at it, the more you see it's been a plan for a long time. So, it's gone from high level stuff to, nitty gritty, sort of trying to refute small arguments. And I think that there's a lot of people in the disability sector who are having to try and put forward an argument against independent assessments, and maybe in the future we'll be able to return the focus to, trying to improve things for everybody as opposed to just, fighting against a negative reform. So, it has changed my job quite a bit.
Is it just me or does independent assessments miss the entire point of the NDIS? If you read the original prototype report. Productivity Commission report. Chapter 7. And you compare it with what's being proposed. It's entirely diametrically opposed. It's as if the government read chapter 7 and thought, let's do everything the opposite way around.
Yeah, it really is like that, because before, the NDIS, the whole idea of it was that it should support what's reasonable and necessary so people can achieve their goals, and so that people could aspire towards things they weren't doing yet, and so that they could progress and, set visions for the future that weren't what things were right now. And what it wants to do instead is just have these tiny little definition of what's reasonable and necessary for some cookie cutter kind of scenario, or this generic small life for each type of disability, and then only fund that. And that whole setting a vision for your future that's yours and individual, that won't be able to happen anymore, because it'll be so narrow what people can aspire to, because the plans will just be so small.
Really, for me, what is missed in the debate is, as a participant, metaphorically, my NDIS plan is as important, if not more important, than my Australian passport, because it's actually given us participants the means to tangibly actualize our rights as citizens, as equal citizens. And I feel that ever since Labour lost in 2013, you can't really find the word citizenship in the discourse around NDIS.
Yeah, and it's also a word that they took out of the National Disability Strategy draft for the next 10 years. they changed the word citizen to, I think, members of the community or something like that. So there's less of a focus on your rights as a citizen because you're not even using that word. And then the focus on the fact that some of those rights are being breached gets lost too. So the less the word citizen is used, maybe the less there of a focus of your breached rights as a citizen. Maybe that's the thinking behind why it's disappeared from documents during the Liberal administration. I don't know.
The thing is, when you put the breach of rights next to the fact that the Royal Commission was even necessary to be called, I mean, to me, the fact that we need an independent judicial inquiry is a damning indictment in the state of inclusion in Australia. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if people's rights weren't being breached so badly, it wouldn't need to be independently investigated with such a broad-ranging inquiry. And I think it's gobsmacking that can be happening, and yet there's all this attempt to narrow the things that people could enjoy as part of their rights, like that, this attempt to try and restrict all these benefits people have, which are actually just like a reflection of their rights. So I don't understand this push to reduce the benefits when actually it's actually just a push to really restrict what people can enjoy as part of their rights. And I don't understand how there can be an expose and still a contraction at the same time. It doesn't seem to make sense.
And to think that the Royal Commission is occurring at the same time where in some states disability advocacy, the very services we use to maintain our voice and to some extent our citizenship is being, I would say, cruelly taken away. And it was by some miracle in New South Wales we barely hanged on to funding.
That's right, and same with Queensland recently. They've just recently got another 2 years of funding, but they didn't know they were going to get that. it's almost good that in this environment of the Liberal Party being the national party, that there's still, you know, states out there that are willing to fund advocacy. It's just a shame that they keep doing it at the last hour, you know, when people are at the point of in advocacy services where they're just about to cut people's jobs. Because there's definitely still a need for advocacy. It's not going to go away.
So let us play a scenario. Let's say Linda Reynolds and Paul Fletcher or listening to this podcast. What would you, as someone working in policy, tell them?
What, as someone working in policy, I would tell the Australian government not to go ahead with the independent assessments reform. I don't think that the government should rewrite the NDIS Act. I think that if the government wants to improve the NDIS, it's something that they can do within the parameters of the existing Act, and they need to go back to the drawing board and start consulting with people with disability from the very beginning, instead of after they've already made decisions that are really stupidly dollar focused and also don't carry weight. Like, it's nice they want to save money, like this idea that they want to save money so that when everyone's rolled into the NDIS there's enough money to support everyone, but they're actually going against their economic arguments. And they need to remember the value of the economic argument is, if you can support people to have more independence in their life, then they can earn an income, and then they start contributing to the economy and supporting the economy. And that was part of the rationale for the NDIS. So they have to stop forgetting the economic benefits of the scheme. You know, they have to stop treating it like any other insurance scheme and start treating it for the scheme that it is, one that is going to help improve Australian society by improving the lives of people with disability and improving their ability to, you know, contribute to society and therefore contribute economically to society. So yeah, I think that it has to be more than just Liberal Party policies. It has to actually be economic policies that, you know, have a strong basis in economics and just human rights. You know, the NDIS is supposed to help people achieve their goals, and that's an important part of it, and it shouldn't be forgotten.
Can I just ask you just one more question?
Sure.
Why is it that there appears to be a clear siloing of our lives? Like, shouldn't people with disabilities have equal access to health care and education? Why is it that once we get an there seems to be this perpetual state versus territory, public versus private sector.
I don't know why we end up with silos. I think that the most important thing is to focus on how we can have equity, and so we can have equal rights. And sometimes schemes like the NDIS are fantastic for making sure that we can get those rights and be equal. Yeah. There you go.
Tangled.
Oh, it's tangled, is it? I think that it's important that the scheme isn't broken at this point in time, because it's a scheme for us now, but it's also a scheme for kids in the future. And, you know, it would be good if it doesn't get shot in the foot.
And I want to really pick up on that point, because the ironic thing is the Four Corners documentary, which sparked the national outcry behind the NDIS, was, from memory, called Breaking Point. Haven't we as a country just went from one breaking point to another breaking point? And why do these only happen when there's an economic downturn?
I think it's a shame that we are at another breaking point, and I think that it's a shame that all this extra time we had to work from home got used to put together this scenario, this reform. It would be a really sad output of the COVID pandemic that this is what the government did to the National Disability Insurance Scheme if independent assessments go ahead.
Speaking personally, I think if this policy comes into effect without a single able-bodied thinking, oh crap, by some accident I could be subjected to this unmitigated bureaucratic nightmare. Frankly, and I'm talking to the audience, wake up. This could happen you're only one accident away from an independent assessment.
That's right. There's anybody who needs the NDIS, who is looking at potentially becoming a participant, they would have to have that potentially, even if the legislation fails. So yeah, the assessments could be traumatic, but also the plans that you end up with afterwards just might not be workable for you, and that'd be a shame, you know, especially if you factored in, you know, a certain amount of support. Like if you've been working up to this for years of getting on the scheme, or like upping your plans as things change for you, you know, if you can't rely on that, then, you know, all of a sudden the goals you've got for yourself in the future really have to be contracted, and that would just be disappointing for so many people.
Not to do the job of the government for them, but I've got a policy geek on the line. What will be a happy alternative?
I think a happy alternative would be assessments by your preferred trusted professionals. And I think one way that we could change things in the future would be to introduce functional assessments by your trusted professionals as something that's supported under Medicare. And in the way that you might have, you know, a Medicare plan at the moment for physiotherapy, or, you know, where you get your 10 sessions or your 20 sessions now, you could have your sessions to have all the, you know, functional assessments that you need, and your diagnosis assessments, so that you can then, you know, demonstrate that you're eligible for the NDIS and that you should
But let's go back a step. We're assuming that the assessment tools exist to capture the sheer complexity of every disability, from autism to cerebral palsy to muscular dystrophy to bipolar disorder. So I really am compassionate for people who work at DSS, but how do you even begin to design the assessment system, let alone implement it?
I just don't know. There's so many different types of disability. People are so different from each other, and to try and have this standardized approach, I don't actually understand how that can be an aspiration, because people are so different, and I'm just worried about assessors who don't understand a type of disability being the ones to decide how impaired someone is, when, you know, how does a physio understand someone with autism, and how does, you know, an OT understand someone with bipolar disorder? It just seems ridiculous. How is that going to be valid? And no wonder the assessors won't be covered under their professional organisations. They're not practicing in their field. It's very bizarre.
Do we need to maybe throw the bathtub out of the water, so to speak? Start from scratch with a genuine co-design road show. Don't just include advocates, but include people with disabilities, people with mental illness. I mean, this is 2021. You have the engaged DSS website for a reason. You have Microsoft Teams. Use them.
Yeah, I think they should throw out their plans and start again with people with disability, and go from there. Instead of pushing forward with this thing that was a fait accompli before it was even announced.
Do you think in Australia, as the political landscape sits, for any major party, will we actually reach a point of having a federal minister with for the NDIS or social services with an actual identifiable disability?
I think we could reach a point where an NDIS minister and a social services minister has an identifiable disability. I'm still optimistic that, you know, we can reach that point of inclusion in society. But I think that it's not going to happen in the next year, and so the answer is for the government to include people with disability in the design of reforms, and so that what the government comes up with is something that is really conscious of our rights, but is also going to be something that will contribute positively instead of negatively to people's lives and our society.
One question I had was, in Western Australia, you have the Disability Services Council. In New South Wales, we have an independent statutory body, the Disability Council of New South Wales. So, just indulge me. Do we need, as the non-government sector, to actually propose a participatory and representative model to have a legislated independent body to advise, consult, monitor, and deliver disability inclusion reform.
On a state-by-state basis or on a national basis?
Well, I think we should start by state by state, but aim to introduce sort of a national cabinet of disability inclusion style structure with the head of each state territory body makes a national council.
I think that that approach would be really good for disability rights, including inclusion. And I think that it would be good to be progressing this in every state and territory so that it can't get shelved at the national level in the way that it is at the moment. Like I think the states and territories really need to be involved more to make sure that we don't lose all these services and aspirations that we had when we put together the NDIS. And I think it's also important to have that focus at the state and territory level because, you know, there's so many more people that aren't covered by the NDIS, and we need to make sure that those people don't fall through the cracks either.
We're almost over time. One final question is, do you, this is going to be an obvious answer, but do you think the fact that we have little senior management representation either at the NDIA or I would say in service providers play their part in this sort of top-down paternalistic model of treating the innocent disabled person as someone we need to protect.
Yeah, I think that by not being inclusive towards people with disability at the senior management level, you do end up with this paternalistic approach, and that's the problem with not trying to address inclusion at the top level, is that you end up with schemes that don't work very well. And you know, there's plenty of examples of where there's benefit from having better inclusion rates. Women, people of culturally and linguistically diverse populations, and people with disability. So if more people had a disability who were in senior management at, say, the National Disability Insurance Agency, maybe some of the decisions that are being made or progressed would be different. So inclusion matters, and it's not a silly thing to value and to try and make happen.
Do you think it will be legally or practically feasible to require potential providers to maybe be required to show they have a certain percentage of directors and senior management in positions of influence, or again, are we in the dreamland of disability inclusion?
There are plenty of affirmative action schemes across the world where people have sought to change the representations of things like boards of directors and senior management. So I don't think it's dreamland to set that as a goal. It's definitely something that's possible, and it's something that could be done. And it just has to be valued by the people making decisions. But you know, they do it on the stock market. You know, there are companies who operate in certain countries where they need to have a certain proportion of people from, you know, the local population, and you know, people follow those rules when they become rules. So it is possible to set those, you know, inclusiveness goals or targets as, you know, as mandatory targets. So it's something that could be done for the NDIS. It's just a matter of making a commitment.
Do you think we need a movement similar to what they had in the feminist movement, where they had ailment list? Do we need a disability equivalent? Not to say, here's the token disabled person, but to really say, here is the talent. You just need to make room in your organization so outcomes can be improved.
Yeah, I do think we need a movement to try and make disability inclusion an actual commitment of government, because that's how it happened for women, and that's how it happens for someone who is, say, an African American in the US. There needs to be a groundswell of people who support that change, because then it helps people get past the fact that sometimes they might think that, you know, it's unfair. So, you know, there needs to be support for inclusion and that commitment to it, regardless of whether or not it's difficult or unpalatable for some people.
So let's just get things straight. The campaign which got us the NDIS was every Australian counts. Then last year, AFDO and the Disabled Person Organization of Australia started the hashtag End Segregation campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take lessons from both campaigns, what isn't cutting through, and what can we really do to bring
I think we need to be vocal the way we were with the Every Australian Counts campaign and the End Segregation campaign. I think that we need to join together to say that this matters, that this will have a positive effect on Australia, and we need to just repeat that it's worthwhile and it does matter. And if every Australian matters, then disability representation matters, because people with disability are Australians and are a big part of Australian life. So we need to get out there and tell people that disability inclusion matters, because otherwise people might not hear it or might not think about it. And so sure, we can jump on social media, we can have a hashtag for it, disability inclusion, but yeah, we have to talk about it too, and talking about it on places like the Drum and all of the places that help amplify our voices. And
Or even, I know this is self-promotion, but podcasts like this are an example that people on the DSP without the backing of a major organization can be divorced. So I'm not saying that every Joe Blog needs to start a podcast. What I'm saying is to quote Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world.
yeah, that's right. Be the change, start the conversation, and make sure that you share what you think is gonna have an impact and make a positive change.
Okay. Whoa! I have loved this conversation, and really, if you or any of your colleagues want to come on, don't be a stranger.
Okay, thank you. That's really lovely of you to invite us again. Yeah, I've really enjoyed being on CripChat. It was an accident. I just wanted to watch what you were saying. I didn't realize I could jump on. But it's been lovely to talk to you, and it's nice to think about these things. I think it's important.
Okay, I'll wrap it up now. So, folks, you heard it from Amanda and me. Now it's your turn. Continue the conversation in the chat and join us next time for more CripChat. Bye.